What's going on, everyone? Jack here from Half Chrome, and this is Emax's newest drone. This is the Cinehawk Mini, and I'm a big fan of the Emax quads. The Baby Hawk 3 HD here is my favorite FPV drone, and their Tiny Hawk kits are awesome. Love the Tiny Hawk 3 Plus here with HD 0. Emax gets the little things right. They look at the details and they really refine their products before they're released. They're not waiting on early adopters to crash the products and then tell them what's wrong and then send a fixed batch. They do it right, and the Cinehawk Mini here is no exception to that. This thing is a blast. These ducks, they are super durable. We've got a carbon fiber frame. The dampening system on top where you put the battery so you get a little bit more mass on this. Just a great idea. Look at that. We even have our capacitor soldered on here. We have a spot to add GPS if we wanted it. And the DJI 03 unit gets mounted on the bottom. You can either get this as a kit where you bring your own VTX. It's about 160 bucks, or you can buy it with this installed, and that's about 470. Definitely more expensive and a better value if you add it yourself. It's not incredibly difficult. It took me about a half an hour, just a little bit tedious because, you know, when you're working with small drones like this, you got to kind of take your time. Okay, so in terms of things you need to put this together, right? You need the quad, you need the air unit. You're going to want a 1.5mm Allen wrench and maybe a set of needle nose pliers, plus a whole lot of patience. So basically, you're going to take the antenna and the camera off of the DJI Air unit. That's so you can kind of fish the wires through and then kind of reconnect them, right? So kind of fish them through the body. The antenna hooks onto the back, the camera up front. Now, if you're not using the DJI 03 Air unit camera, there are some camera adapters that you can kind of place your camera lens into and then fasten them to the quad. Not a difficult process here. I would say it took me about 30 minutes to do so. You don't have to go and buy any extra parts. There are extra screws and connectors and all the stuff you need come with the drone. You also get an extra set of props should you break some. But, you know, this duck does a nice job of protecting it, so I haven't had to do that. Just make sure you line your air unit up so that you still have access to the USB-C port and the SD, the micro SD card. But with the price of an air unit, about 220 bucks, adding your own VTX is the way to go. Now, Emax did send this to me to review. I brought my VTX and added it. Okay, so let's talk about what we have here. Like I said before, this is a cinewhoop. It's like a little mini Avata. It doesn't have the stability of the Avata, but it does have the 03 air unit, which means you have a really good camera that you can stabilize either with gyro flow or you can stabilize it on board with DJI's Rocksteady. And that's what I did here with my footage. Now, you can fly this thing indoors or out. You know, it's not really meant as an outdoor freestyle rig. Sure, yes, it's got enough power. You can do some flips and rolls with this. You can fly it outside if you want, but really, if that's what you want, this thing is the best, right? This Baby Hawk 3 is what you want. This thing shines, this Cinehawk shines flying indoors slow and low. Because it's small, you can kind of line it up and get it through places that you're not gonna get an Avata or a larger drone. I think this 03 air unit is good enough if you're using gyro flow or some other electronic image stabilization to get really buttery smooth footage. I'm just using Rocksteady in my video here, and I think that's pretty darn good. So let's talk about the specs. We've got 13035 motors, and you can get up to 7 minutes of flight for slow cruising. That's on an 850 milliamp hour battery. I flew this on 850s and 650s. Now it's tuned for an 850, but it flies pretty darn good on a 650 as well. You're just not gonna get that flight time. These are Avia 2.5-inch propeller. Flight controller is an Emax 405 with a built-in 20 amp ESC. We do have an ELRS antenna. You can see that T antenna kind of sticking out here. I connected it to my Boxer radio, but if you wanted to, you could use the DJI Air unit as your receiver as well. I've done that with other drones in the past, but I really like this radio and I like ELRS. It is 108 millimeters diagonally from motor post to motor post, and it weighs about 150 grams, which means even with a 650 or an 850 and probably even some 1000 milliamp hour batteries, you're still going to be under 250 grams. Overall, this thing is a blast to fly, and it's definitely going to be my go-to cinewhoop when I'm trying to get indoor shots and I'm not using my Avata, right? If I have to fly through a small space, this is the drone to choose. I've really been pretty darn impressed by these propeller guards. They have just a little bit bit of a flex, but they're pretty darn solid. I don't think these things are gonna break anytime soon. Emax continues to impress with their offerings. The Cinehawk Mini is no exception. If you're looking for a cinewhoop, this is probably what I'd recommend. I'm not a big fan of the larger cinewhoops where you're gonna have to add a GoPro. I like this camera. I think it's more than good enough. If you're looking for a smaller cinewhoop, this is the one to get. It is a blast to fly. It is the perfect size. The motors are nice and smooth. But the O3 Air unit, it's pretty fantastic. Now you could add other cameras, but I think the O3 is the way to go. They do ship with some other camera adapters, but go with this one here. You won't be disappointed. Emax continues to impress. I'm a fan. If I missed something or if you have questions, leave them down below. I do read the comments and I'll respond back. Good luck everyone and happy flying.